Good evening and welcome to the special council meeting for Wednesday, December 14th. We are beginning at 5:32 p.m. And Christopher, can I just turn to you for a moment? Are we going in camera to talk about the SIP recommendations?
No, this is all public.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, I'd like to confirm the agenda. Are there any emergent items for this special council meeting? Any emergent items from any of the councilors? Councilor Montgomery?
I have a statement. I'm just joking. I'll move the agenda as presented.
Scared me. You've all heard the motion. Christopher from Legislative Services or Admin?
Yeah, we're requesting that we add item 3.2, appointment of designated assessor, to the agenda.
Thank you. And Councilor?
I'll move the agenda as amended.
Thank you for the motion. All in favor? And the motion is carried. And that brings us to Community Improvement Program, SIP, funding recommendations. Good evening, Mark, and welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Tonight, I'm here to speak about the Community Improvement Program and some of the recommendations that the CIP Evaluation Committee has recommended through their evaluations of three applicants for this program. As you can see in my report, the committee met in early November. There were some delays because of forming the committee, and they have three recommendations that they were looking for council's support on. $2,500 to the Rocky Mountain Symphony Society, $1,500 to the Wheatland Crisis Society, and $5,000 to the Strathmore Performing Arts Society. That's kind of the crux of my report there, Your Worship, but if there's any questions for yourself or council, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mark. I have a question on the Rocky Mountain Symphony Society. I know it's an outside group with a couple of members who live in town. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Worship. The organization itself is actually not based in Strathmore, and that was one of the comments of the CIP Evaluation Committee. They felt that without their support that these type of events would not potentially happen or come back to Strathmore. And so they feel that maybe in the future this group can partner with an organization that's within Strathmore and potentially secure better funding through the CIP program. Ultimately, the committee felt that it was a worthwhile event and wanted to recognize something for it, but did identify that this was a non-Strathmore-based community.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any firm commitment from this symphony as far as a certain number of performances in town?
It's not my understanding, Your Worship. I think they've been here before. I don't really this is the first time I've recognized them, the first time that they've applied for the program that I can recall. But no, I don't have an understanding of how often they come back and things like that.
Okay, I know they were scheduled to perform at Kinsman, but then weather turned bad, and so I'll have Councillor Wiley. You can step in. Maybe you can add.
It doesn't sound like I know too much more than you. Only that I've been a patron to two of their symphonies in town, and it's fantastic. And like you said, there's a couple of the musicians there that are local. And my wife has actually become involved in that. She's going to volunteer to promote for them more in the coming year. So I think their goal is twice a year, is my understanding.
Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor Peterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mark, I know this isn't necessarily in your purview, but if you have capacity to communicate, I know that with the Calgary Philharmonic Orchestra, and they have done, Mozart on the Mountain and all kinds of other things. And there are a few people in town who've talked to me about how absolutely amazing it would be to bring the Siksika drum groups into a symphony orchestra and bring them together in an event. And I think that, with our partnership with Siksika and our connection to the Rocky Mountain Symphony Orchestra or Mountain Symphony Society, I think it would be a really great opportunity. And I know how much the Mozart on the Mountain has appealed and how big that's gotten through the Calgary Philharmonic, and it would just be neat if we could do something like that here. But thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other questions or comments from council regarding the three items brought forward under the Community Improvement Program? Seeing none? Thank you, Deputy. Thank you, Councillor Montgomery.
All right. I will move that council approve the following funding through the Community Improvement Program. $2,500 to the Rocky Mountain Symphony Society, $1,500 to the Wheatland Crisis Society, and $5,000 to the Strathmore Performing Arts Society.
Thank you for that motion. Is there any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor? And that motion is carried. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council.
We move now to 3.2, designated assessor item. Oh, thank you, Tom. Good evening and welcome from wherever you are in a safe, secure location.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to just present this latest add-on to your agenda for this evening. And it's the appointment of a municipal assessor. It's a requirement that's required by the MGA that we have a appointed assessor for preparing and validating and promoting our tax roll when we come to the process of doing the tax bills in the new year. Alan Downs, who many of you will know, after 12 years with the town, is leaving us on January 3rd. So that'll be his last day. And he's moving up to the Peace River area where he's originally from and will be a municipal assessor up there. So in the interim, we'll be without an assessor. So before council right now, we have a recommendation that we appoint on an interim basis Wild Rose Assessment Services to be our appointed assessor until we have a permanent assessor appointed. We have a request for proposal out for a permanent assessment firm that closes tomorrow. So once we evaluate the proposals, we'll probably in late January, early February, come back again before council to have the new assessor assessment firm appointed. But for now, we just have to have something in place to have an interim assessor so we can continue and have our continuity as we roll into 2023, and particularly for the tax bills and having the assessments ready in time for preparing tax notices. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Tom. Councillor Mitzner?
In the portfolio of assessment services, they look after the Bayside condo complex. Will this still be covered, or will this only be for tax purposes?
I'm not familiar with your question, so could you repeat that?
We have a complex in Strathmore that's managed by the town of Strathmore, and okay. Alan has been our go-to for those units.
What?
For the Bayside condo project.
Tom, I can actually jump in here.
Yeah, Kara could maybe jump in.
So actually prior to Al giving his resignation, we've actually moved that over to Mark's area. And so it's actually being managed under FCSS going forward. So yeah. Yep, no problem. It's already been dealt with.
Thank you, Councillor Mitzner. Any other questions for Tom, Deputy Mayor? I have one question for you, Tom. With an interim assessor company designated for a time being, and then having an outside firm brought in, this will be some savings as far as benefits and things like that, as far as having it in-house?
Well, that's part of the review, and when we get the proposals and we evaluate the proposals, that'll be a part of it, looking at what the impact will be from a financial standpoint. If it makes sense to bring a recommendation forward to council to go that route, then we will. If, say, proposals come in much higher than where we envision them being, there's no financial savings, and that's something that as administration will discuss, and then we'll bring forward a recommendation on next steps if we don't go this route.
Okay, thank you very much. Deputy Mayor Peterson.
If you're ready for a motion, Your Worship. I would move that council appoint Wild Rose Assessment Services as a designated assessor for the town of Strathmore effective January 3rd, 2023.
Thank you for that motion, Deputy Mayor. Now that we have a motion on the floor, is there further discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor? And the motion is carried. Thank you, Tom. And that brings us to the conclusion of all the agenda items for the special council meeting. So I will declare it adjourned at 5:42. Thank you. And we will be back at 6 p.m.